Welcome to Week 15 of the Charlotte Preps.TV High School Football Report, powered by Ortho Carolina. What an exciting weekend of action we had. Big wins all around in Mecklenburg and Union County. And Tim Winters and I are going to tell you all about what happened. Tim, let's get things started over in Union County. You got a couple games you want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. The Monroe Redhawks, another deep run into the playoffs. And, you know, Monroe had a lead 14-10 going into halftime. They held that lead until early fourth quarter when Franklin, the #1 seed in the Western Regional, took the lead with a touchdown, 17-14. Monroe tried valiantly to come back at the last minute. A drive stopped short about 30 yards away from the end zone, and that was it. Monroe loses to Franklin, 17-14. Franklin now moves on to the Western Regional Finals to face East Lincoln. Another Union County team traveling into the mountains. It was number 5, the Weddington Warriors, facing the #1 seed in the Western Regional in the 3A bracket, Asheville Cougars. Weddington travels up there, trails 7-0 early on in the second quarter, and then 3 straight Weddington touchdowns. A 52-yard run by senior running back Mitchell Carson. That was followed up by a Joe Bench touchdown reception, and then a fumble recovery by Mark Tayulu put the Warriors up at halftime, 21-14. The teams traded touchdowns in the second half, and after Asheville scored a safety to make the score 28-23 Weddington, the Warriors defense clamped down, stopping Asheville on a 4th down and 1, and then 2 successive stops on 2 Asheville drives inside the 7-minute mark to preserve the 28-23 Weddington victory on the road.
By the time teams reach the third round, most playoff games feature close to equal matchups. This was not the case Friday night at Reagan High School as the Charlotte Catholic Cougars steamrolled the Raiders 49-0. This game was over before some fans settled in with a box of popcorn and an ice-cold Coca-Cola. The only thing that kept Catholic from scoring more points was the running clock that came on in the second half. Jared Anderson passed the 200-yard mark running the football, and Ryan Miller went for over 100 yards as Catholic piled up 365 yards on the ground. The Cougars only completed 2 passes, one of them a touchdown pass to Miller by John Walton. The Catholic defense was sparkling Friday night, allowing only 112 yards of offense. Not much more we can add here except to say this Catholic team is good. Really good, and will now host Vance for a chance to play for another state championship. Tim, I think you'll remember I said early on in the season the names on the roster will always change at Catholic, but the results stay the same. I see this team playing 2 more football games this year. In a rematch from earlier in the year, Lake Norman turned the tides on Huff High School for a big third-round playoff win. As it has been for the last few years at Lake Norman, the best player on the field was Josh Ledowski. Ledowski reminds me a lot of one of the best 2-sport athletes this state has ever seen, Trot Nixon. Josh has the ability to play for a top 25 level football and baseball college team. He is signed to play baseball at UNC Chapel Hill, but right now he may be better than any quarterback on that school's roster and have a chance to play Major League Baseball just like Trot Nixon did over 2 decades ago. Back to the game. Ledowski was dominant here, leading his team to a 52-42 win. He accounted for over 351 yards of offense and 5 touchdowns. The offense and a strong defense was able to keep Huff's Bishop Ford and Will Coleman in check enough at the right time for the win. Yes, both those players were fantastic all game until the Lake Norman defense held tough at the end. The deciding factor may have been 2 late Jarrett Schott interceptions that sealed the win for Lake Norman. The Wildcats, winners of 11 straight, will now face Mallard Creek. Many people may lean towards Mallard Creek here, but they have not seen a quarterback on the other side of the field as talented as Josh Ledowski. Josh has lots of talent to help him this year, and the Wildcats could contend for an upset and a spot in the state championship game. Tim, we talked earlier about a big steamroll win by Charlotte Catholic. You've got one of those over in Union County this weekend. Tell us what happened in that Cuthbertson game.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think Cuthbertson football, you think a high-powered offense led by junior commit Austin Kendall and his arsenal of talented wide receivers, which includes B.J. Muckelveen, J.T. Cawthon, Nick Harrison, Casey Stamper. But, you know, early in the season, early in the summer, actually, Coach Johnson said the strength of the team lies within the defense. And it's hard to argue with the coach after the drubbing that they put on Statesville on Friday night, 42-0. The Cuthbertson defense posted their first shutout of the season. Statesville averaged 172.5 yards rushing per game during the year. They were held to negative 23 yards on 30 attempts on Friday night. 92 total yards of offense by the Statesville Greyhounds. Combine that with the effort that Austin Kendall put in, 18 for 35 for 362 yards and 4 touchdowns. Cuthbertson wins 42-0 going away, setting up a huge playoff game with the right to go to the state championship against arch rival and conference rival, the Weddington Warriors, on Friday night.
With Week 15 now in the books, it's time now to take a look at the Ortho 8, our rankings of the top 8 teams in the Mecklenburg and Union County areas.
Coming in at number 8, the Butler Bulldogs, finishing their season last week at 10-3. Independence at 12-1. Vance coming up with their big game against Catholic this week at 11-3, ranked number 6. The Cuthbertson Cavaliers making their first entry into the Ortho 8 at 11-3. They will face off against Weddington, who comes in at number 4 for the second week in a row at 13-1. Charlotte Christian at 10-1 at number 3. Charlotte Catholic moves up 1 at 13-1, coming in for the second week in a row at the number 1 position. Mallard Creek at 13-1. They beat Providence on Friday night 49-21.
Well, Tim, we've made it to the state semifinals. We've got a few teams in the area still playing. 3 big matchups we're going to talk about, starting with Vance at Charlotte Catholic. Vance and head coach Aaron Brand are coming in believing in their system, believing they have the ability to pull an upset and play for a state championship game. Charlotte Catholic, you know they're going to hand the ball off to Jared Anderson, going to play tough defense. It's going to be a really tough game for Vance to win. See what Charlotte Catholic does here. I know we're going to have a huge crowd over there. Going to be a great game for all football fans to go check out. Now, you've got the big one in Union County. Many people saying the biggest game ever in Union County in high school football. What can you tell us about Cuthbertson and Weddington, their matchup?
Yeah, it's going to be a tremendous night on Friday night in Union County. Second year in a row, 2 teams playing for the right to go to the state championship. If you all remember, last year it was Parkwood High School on that fantasy ride, that great ride that they had through the playoffs, playing at Monroe High School for the right to go to the 2A state championship or the 2AA state championship. Friday night, it sets up number 5 Weddington versus their arch rival in conference, the number 2 Cuthbertson Cavaliers. If you all remember, Cuthbertson beat Weddington earlier in the season, about 6 weeks ago. Last second drive, 42-38. This should be a tremendous matchup between 2 teams, 2 schools separated by about 3.5 miles. Coach Carson comes in with a strong defense led by Jack Jenkins, Miles Moore, Lance Moore, Chris Trevinson as a safety in the defensive backfield, and, you know, a talented offensive crew by Weddington as well, led now by a 4-game starter, Grayson Willingham, coming in from David Beha. Should be a tremendous effort by Weddington, and we all know about Cuthbertson, Austin Kendall, B.J. Muckelveen, J.T. Cawthon, and now their defense turning it up with a shutout last week. I'd expect maybe a lower scoring game, but it should be a tremendous turnout, a great fanfare for everybody to come out on Friday night in Union County.
As they say, buy your tickets early or risk the chance of not seeing this one. The final game in the area, Mallard Creek hosting Lake Norman. We talked earlier about Josh Ladowski and all of his wonderful skills and the players he has surrounding him. They're going to have to go in and play a perfect game to beat Mallard Creek, who is such dominant and so expecting to go to the state championship. But if any team can do it, Lake Norman can pull the upset. Now let's look and we'll see what kind of score we have there. The higher the score goes, if it's close, tends to favor Lake Norman. Now, football fans, you've got 3 great games to go out and check out this weekend. You've got one in North Charlotte, one in South Charlotte, one over in Union County. Pick the one that you think will be the most exciting. Go out there and support these student athletes. And, of course, be safe out there. Have a good time. And thanks for tuning in here on the CharlottePreps.tv High School Football Report, powered by Ortho Carolina.